Hey guys, there's two great ways to support the channel. All links are in the description below. Welcome back everyone. Got a new commander in Modern Horizons 3 that I'm excited to talk about, and that's Phlage, Titan of Fire's Fury. So the first time I looked at this one, I was like, oh, that seems kind of cool. And then as I started thinking about it more and thinking about how I was going to build this deck, I actually started getting more and more excited about it. So let's take a look at it. It's 3 mana for a 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life, and escape for 4 mana and exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. So on its surface, Lightning Helix may not seem like a big deal, but as I started thinking about it more, there is something about basically always starting the game with a Lightning Helix in your hand. Like if you've ever seen that mana dork come down early that you know is going to be a problem, like a Bloom Tender, a Selvala, Gyre Sage, any of that stuff, you have the Lightning Helix in hand ready to go to get rid of it. So one of the things that I started thinking about is, man, is this the Boros control deck that I've always wanted to build? And the answer is maybe. So at a high level, I think the way this commander will play, early you're going to use it as a burn spell, and then sort of in the mid game you're going to want to try to escape it to actually get it into play, and then blast something else. From there, you can attack as needed, try to control the board a little bit while you're setting up your own stuff. And once you're set up in the late game, there's a lot of really interesting things that you can do with this commander. And particularly if you're set up with like a damage doubler, you can just start raining damage down on people. So as I started looking at this commander, there were about 5 main categories of stuff that kind of make sense with what our commander is doing. First, that's going to be all the red damage stuff. So there's 5 main categories of stuff that work really well with this commander. I'll just list them off quickly and we'll talk about them more as we go through the cards. But that's going to be things that care about damage, which is like every red card ever. Things that care about life gain. Things that care about extra combats. Things that care about other Punisher effects, which could be kind of interesting with this commander. And the last one is definitely a little bit cheeky, and we'll talk about it more later, but that is things that care about blinking. So with that, let's get into some of the things we're going to need if we're going to build Phlage. First up, we'll talk about the boring stuff. So we need to get 5 cards into our graveyard just to be able to cast Phlage and keep it in play due to the escape. So the first thing we're going to want is wheels. Wheels are going to refill our hand, but they're also going to fill our graveyard, have long been a staple of the format, and are just going to be really helpful for us to try to get our commander in. As far as the ones on this page, Wheel of Fortune is the tricky one, but I would definitely run the other 3 just because they shouldn't be that hard to get a hold of. But if we're talking about wheels, that means that we also probably want to run Alms Collector or Smothering Tithe. If you can fire off a wheel with one of these in play, that's probably good game. It won't just immediately end the game, but it's so much value that it's hard for opponents to overcome. Moving past those, here's a way to get a card or 2 into your graveyard that may not be readily apparent to most people. So with Tithe, Gift of Estates, or Land Tax, you can easily go up to 8 cards in hand or more. And then obviously at the end step, discard down to get a couple cards into your graveyard. Also with Tithe and Gift of Estates being spells themselves, that'll put a card itself into the graveyard. It's not going to get you all 5 necessarily, but it can get you an extra card or 2 into the graveyard while also being good at just fixing your lands and making sure you have the mana you need. So 100% I'm going to be running all of these. Then, of course, we have all the red looting spells, and this might be the first time that I have to actually commit to running looting spells. I've never been a huge fan of looting. Now, they've gotten better of late, but you guys know me, I have no love for Faithless Looting. However, Unexpected Windfall, Big Score, those are definitely very solid cards. Hazoret's Monument is one that I like a lot as well, so I'd probably be running that. Cathartic Reunion, definitely going to be a good way to get a bunch of stuff into the graveyard very easily. As far as the 2 mana draw 2 versions of these cards, you may want some of them, you may not want all of them. Gonna have to playtest that a little bit. And then of course, any number of fetch lands or lands that you can crack are going to be very helpful for getting things into the graveyard. Here are some of the cheaper ones. Obviously, the expensive fetch lands are going to be almost required for this deck. They'll definitely make your life a lot easier. But here are some cheaper options, and as I was thinking about it, other cards that have land cycling could also be decent here as well. Here's 2 more ways to get things into the graveyard. It's not going to put all 5 cards into the graveyard that you need, but Mask of Memory is just generically good, and you guys didn't think I was actually going to build a deck without it, did you? And the second one is Chivalric Alliance, which has really just overperformed in every sense. So Obviously, if you attack with 2 creatures, you can draw a card, but then you can also pay 2 to discard a card and create a 2/2 White Knight token, which was really cool the other day because I had an Odric in play and I needed Vigilance. So these are 2 cards that are going to help you draw cards regardless, but can also help you get an extra card or 2 into the graveyard. 100% you want to be running Altar of Dementia in this deck. It's an immensely powerful card, and basically anytime your commander's about to die, you just use the Altar of Dementia. You can mill yourself 6 more so that you can easily recast your commander. It's immensely powerful. Perpetual Timepiece, probably not that strong, but I am curious to try it out. I haven't played a lot of decks that really want the Timepiece. Mill 2 is like, it's a little underwhelming. Mill 3 would feel a lot better, I think. But even still, if you get it out early in a game, that's probably 8 or 10 cards that you can mill throughout the course of the game without really having to put more mana into it. And on the off chance that you need to exile it and get some cards back, might make sense for that too. But because we're talking about Altar of Dementia, you probably want to be running Karmic Guide and Revel Arc. That will win the game with the Infinite Loop. Obviously, you can choose not to run one portion of the combo. But in general, Karmic Guide and Revel Arc are just really good anyway. If we're now wanting Altar of Dementia really badly in the deck, it kind of just makes sense to have these in there, and it gives you another win condition. And particularly one that doesn't revolve around attacking. So getting past some of the ways to fill up our graveyard, now we can talk about some of the more interesting synergy pieces for the deck. As I've hinted at already, damage cards in red synergize with like every red card ever printed, so running anything that's going to increase your damage output is probably going to be a good idea. Be careful with Furnace of Wrath and Dictate of the Twin Gods, because those do double damage to you, so someone can attack you really hard, which isn't the best. Those might be the ones that I skip, but we'll see. But I would say the rest of the ones on this page are easy auto-includes. Moving past that, one of the things I mentioned very briefly is that as I started looking at it, you could definitely build a Punisher style deck with this commander. It's probably not the first thing that I'm going to do with it, but including some number of punishing effects is probably going to be a good idea, again, because of all the damage doubling. Spell Shock is a card that I've just been trying to run more anyway, and so I think this will be a very good place for it. So anyway, yes, if you wanted to, you could go full Punisher with this deck, and I don't think that would be a bad idea at all, and basically use the commander as a little bit of removal along the way, and then when they get low enough, you just use the commander's burn effect to finish the job. Next, we see some other creatures that are going to synergize with some of the other things that we're doing in the deck. Let's of course start with the 2 Titans. Sun Titan and Inferno Titan trigger off of the same conditions that our commander does, which means that they're just going to be really good. I mean, they're really good on their own anyway. Inferno Titan's going to get really good with damage doublers. Most of the other creatures that you see on the page will get a lot of benefit from the fact that we want to be running a couple extra combats. And finally, the one that you may not be thinking about is Myojin of Roaring Blades. Card is actually nasty. I've been running it in Ashling for a while, and it is overperformed. Yeah, it's 8 mana, and people tend to balk at that a lot, but it's an indestructible blocker, and it's 21 damage that you can fire out whenever you need to. And if you're running damage doublers, that is a massive amount of damage. I didn't include it here, but you may want to include a few ways to proliferate if you are planning to run the Myojin. And then, of course, we talked about it a little bit, you're going to want some number of extra combats in this deck. The commander does care about attacking, unless you're doing the Punisher thing, in which it may not be that necessary. But pick the ones that make the most sense for your budget. I personally always start with Aurelia and Waves of Aggression if money is no object. If I'm going as strong as possible, I'd probably also go Feast and Famine and Aggravated Assault, but I also really like Karlach. Morag takes a little more setup, but is game-winning if you set it up the right way. And actually, as I'm thinking about it, because we want fetch lands in the deck, Morag may actually make a lot of sense here. Some other fun synergy pieces, putting Death Touch and or Lifelink on our commander is going to be a really good idea. In particular, I'm probably going to run Basilisk Collar and Gorgon Flail. I'll probably skip the Gorgon's Head because you only need so many instances of it, but if you want to be a little bit cheeky, Sword of Kaldra is very interesting in that it says, whenever equipped creature deals damage to a creature, exile it, which can actually be really strong. So if you're wanting to get rid of, like, I mean, that would get rid of an Eldrazi with the damage trigger. Now, it's a lot of mana, and you're probably going to want some free equips to be able to do that, like a fighter class, for example. So it's not the first thing that I'm going out of my way to do, but it is really interesting if that is your speed. Next, we see some other equipments that are going to be pretty helpful with this commander. As we talked about a little bit already, Lifelink going to be kind of insane with this commander. I mean, throwing a Luxodon Warhammer on it when it attacks. So that's a 9/6 with Trample and Lifelink. So you should gain the 9 from the attack damage. you'll gain 3 more from the damage trigger, and then you'll gain 3 from the trigger itself. That's a lot of life gain. Shadow Spear also going to be very helpful because you can make things non-indestructible, very relevant to damage-based removal. And then finally, Haunted Cloak is just going to be solid for the Vigilance, Trample, Haste. If your commander is vigilant, it's going to be reasonably tough to attack into you. So I just like what Haunted Cloak is bringing to the table here. So one of the things we talked about in the beginning is that you could theoretically build a Blink deck around this commander. It's a little cheeky, but let me explain how it works. So the scenario where I see this being very relevant is later into the game when you have some mana and probably a damage doubler. Because with a damage doubler, here's what that would look like. You attack, you get a damage trigger. Theoretically, you shoot opponent in the face for now 6 because of the doubler. You ephemerate, it comes back, you do 6 more, it dies to the escape, and then you recast it on the escape, and that's 6 more. That's 18 damage with your commander, an ephemerate, and a damage doubler. Now, without the doubler, it's still 9 damage, and that's solid as well, or pop 3 targets. So it's a little bit tricky. I may not go deep here, but if you're feeling really motivated, it's something that you could do. In general, Sword of Hearthstone is just going to be good anyway, and it's there if you need it. If it makes sense to get that extra damage and escape and do all that stuff, Sword of Hearthstone. And since we're talking about Blink, if you're going into that strategy, you may want a few other creatures that synergize with that plan. Here's a couple good ones that are also generically good anyway. Finally, here's a cool piece that is frankly tough to use in most commander decks. Searing Meditation is a card that I've loved for a long time, but it's always a card that never seemed like it fit in completely to what you're doing. I think this might be the deck for it, because you cast your commander, you Lightning Helix something, you gain the life, you pay 2 more, and then you have 2 more damage, so either 5 to a target or 3 and 2 split. I think it's just cool. So this might finally be the Searing Meditation deck, which I'm very excited about. And then, of course, other ways to double your commander's ability are going to make a lot of sense here. Strionic Resonator, Roaming Throne, basically bolt more things down. And as I also mentioned in the open, our commander does gain life, which means we may want some amount of life gain synergy in the deck. In particular on this page, I really like Griffin Airy and Well of Lost Dreams. Valkyrie Harbinger and Resplendent Angel, I would probably only run if I were running other life gain things, particularly something like Cleric class or any of the things that increase the amount of life gain. With Griffin Airy and Well of Lost Dreams, you can kind of just jam those in and I think they'll be pretty good. Next, let's talk about Underworld Breach. So, in theory, we should be putting a lot of stuff into our graveyard. Underworld Breach gives us a way to get things back if we need them. And the big question you'll want to ask yourself is, if you're running Underworld Breach, do you want to run the infinite combos that go with it? And that's certainly up to you. For already running Wheels, then in Jessica's Will and Mana Guys are kind of just going decks anyway. Throwing in an Angel's Grace probably isn't that big of a deal. I forgot to include it here, but Sabine's Reclamation also going to be very helpful for getting this assembled. But I'll leave the choice of the combo up to you, but it's definitely a thing that you can do. Anyway, so that's Phlage, and so what I think is interesting about this commander is obviously you can do attack stuff, you can do damage stuff, but as we were talking through the synergy pieces, the things that jump out at me are the fact that you want Altar of Dementia in this deck means that you may want to think about all of the Altar of Dementia combos. One of the ones we didn't mention is Sun Titan and Angelic Renewal. I think Fiend Hunter would also work in that case. And then second, we talked about the Underworld Breach combo as well. And so, yeah, if you really wanted to, you could build this as just like a hard control deck and then use those combo wins because those synergy pieces should be really good with the commander anyway. So, yeah, there's a lot of cool things about this commander. You can go in a lot of different directions. And I'm really excited to give it a try. Let me know what you guys think. Are there any cards for this deck that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.